All right, guys, this next guest is one of the best brothers I know, a lyrical, underrated genius, back for his 5th interview. I'm talking about the one and only Big Lou.
Chop, what's good, Chop? Thanks for having me again. 5th time's a charm.
Yo, man, are you connected to Wi-Fi?
Yeah, man.
All right, just making sure.
Nah, we good. We good.
All right, man. Well,
great.
how you doing?
I'm great, man. I feel good, man. How you, brother?
Hey, man, can't complain. Just on the grind, doing my thizzle, you know?
Yeah, I see you killing it. You killing it.
Well, let's start with the most recent thing, right? Pistol Pete on a podcast, he told the story about the riot, him running the Puerto Rican flag out and black people getting stabbed. What did you think about that?
I don't know Pistol Pete that good. I ran into him a while ago, like when I was down with K Slay, and never had no words. You know, we passed each other in the hall. You know what I'm saying? In the hallway when I was with Slay. You know what I mean? Um, always looked like a stand-up dude to me from what I could see. But on the same
He
note,
seemed thorough.
yeah, he seemed cool, regardless the situation with him and Cube or whatever, he seemed like a, down to earth dude when I first, saw him or whatever. But I don't know, in this situation, man, that nigga just reminded me, he looked like he just took a page from Fat Joe's book. And he just looked it bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, and what's crazy? Like, I understand where he was coming from in kind of way, but then certain ways that he worded it just wasn't good. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you that. I was like, do you think that he just explained the story like the wrong way or something? Like his word selection was a little off?
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's racist, because like it seems like he's down with a lot of black brothers, you know?
I don't think he's racist at all. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And that's just coming from him, Mike Beck, rest in peace, Mike Beck. Mike Beck was down with him at once, and Mike Beck had a lot of love for him, even though they had their differences later on. Mike Beck never talked about him in a crazy or weird way. You know what I'm saying? He was always like, that Pistol Pete was a stand-up dude. You know what I'm saying? He had his little shit here and there, but I just think the way he explained it was wild. You know what I'm saying? It was just a wild way of explaining the shit. But I got it. You know what I mean? But then in another way, he just looked like he just took a page off Fat Joe's book and was capping like a motherfucker, because I couldn't see that happening. You know what I'm saying? But
because what he said was like, he said that he told all his black brothers that he was down with to stay in their cell, and then like whoever came after that was getting stabbed. He said, we stabbed everybody that was black. And just the way that sounded, it just sounded real bad, bro. It looked real bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's what I meant. Like, the way he just worded shit, it just didn't come out good. You know what I'm saying? Because the way he was wording the situation just made it look like he was racist. You know what I'm saying? And he's not. To me, he's not. I don't think he's racist. It's just my opinion. But you always got to be mindful on how you say things. You know what I mean? To me, I knew where he was coming from, because situations in jail that I heard, like, from some of my friends, some of my homies that been locked up that did long bids, you know, you get down, you know what I mean? Like, situations like that do happen, you know what I mean? And sometimes when you either Latin King, Nieta, Bloods, Crips, or whatever, everybody got they squad or whatever, it could go down a certain type of way that you don't want it to go down, you know what I mean? But I just think a situation like that, man, he had to touch it different, you know what I mean? And the way he touched it, it was almost like it was like Fat Joe telling the story. You know, everybody know when Fat Joe tell a story, King Cat. You know what I'm saying? He was baby King Cat that day, baby King Pete. And it was like, and I don't know Pistol like that. You know what I mean? I think he a stand up brother. That's not, taking no shot at him, but I just think he just had to clean it up. That's it. You know what I mean? And just admit he fucked up on how the way he said it and apologize. You know what I mean? And just be a man, apologize. You know what I'm saying? Not be egotistical and be like, man, fuck that. I stand on, you know what I mean? Like he did. I stand on what I said instead of a whole bunch of nothing. You know what I mean? Just apologize, you know what I mean? And if you wrong, you wrong. That's cool. You said it wrong. That's all. You know what I mean? Apologize. Real motherfuckers is, will appreciate that more than you trying to stand on something that don't make sense. Cause then if you try to stand on something that don't make sense, now you making it look like you racist for real. You feel me? And that's what I be talking about. Like, yo,
You're
just
talking about
own your
his
shit.
response, right? His response didn't
Yeah.
seem like he was like
Yeah.
very like. It seemed like he was blaming everybody else for like making it
Mm-hmm.
something else. But it
Right.
was like I could see that. I could see like how headlines could run with stuff. But
Right.
at the same time, he needed to take a little bit of accountability that he didn't
Right.
present it in the best
Exactly.
way.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. He should have definitely took accountability for saying it wrong and just admit like, yo, I was wrong. I said the story wrong. I don't want y'all to, feel like this and, just take accountability and the real ones is going to respect that more than him trying to stand on some bullshit because it just seemed I was confused on what he was saying. You know what I mean? Like his response, I was just confused. I ain't know what the fuck he was talking about at that point.
Right.
And but on the same note, I don't think he prejudiced or nothing. You know what I mean? I always, it always looked like he was a stand-up dude from what I know from people I knew that knew him. You know what I'm saying? And shit like that, like Mike Beck. Like I said, rest in peace, Mike Beck. Um, always say he was a thorough nigga. So just all that. I just think he just had to tighten up. Some of the things he said.
Cuban said that he heard that story before, but it was someone else that did that, not Pistol Pete.
Mm. And it could have, but who knows? You know what I mean? Because sometimes
right,
certain people, especially people that's on like the Joes of the world, the 50s, you know what I mean? The Rick Rosses, they take people's story that came from something real and they run with it. You know what I'm saying? And they make that story their story. So it could have been, you know what I mean? But who knows? You know what I mean? I don't know. I just think he should have tightened up on how he said the shit because it made him look like he was just racist as hell. You know what I mean? And that's not a good look. Especially in the type of shit that he's in. He got a label. You know what I mean? He does music. You know what I mean? And music, it really, what I mean? Hip hop. I ain't even got to get into that. You know what I mean? We talked about the whole thing. We know where that come from. So you got to be mindful of things like that. You know what I mean? You also got to understand that we guests in the house of hip hop. You know what I mean? Don't turn it for something something that ain't. That's just my take.
Did you watch that whole interview?
Yeah, yeah. I saw. I mean, his response, and I saw the response. The response was only like a minute, 2 minutes long, so it wasn't a long response, but it was a bullshit
But
response to
I'm
me.
saying though, like that whole interview seemed a little weird because like even when he was recalling how many years he did in prison, what year he went in, what year he
Right,
got
right.
out, it was really confusing, right? Like he couldn't recall it, and even the host was all like, "Wait a minute, that's not adding up. The math is not mathing up." And then he asked him again later on in the interview, and he was just like looking at him like, yo, like I don't believe this. Like, you know what I mean? Like it really didn't look good. So
Right,
I don't know if like he was just off that day or what, but
right. I mean, sometimes I don't look too deep into shit like that because people always trying to find something. You know what I mean? And trust me, I'm in no shape or form defending Pistol Pete. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know that brother like that. You know what I'm saying? You know, and y'all know I ain't defending him. You know, he down with a nigga that, you know what I'm saying, that I don't hardly fuck with, you know what I'm saying, for whatever reason. You know what I mean? But on the same note, people always try to find something. You know what I mean? They always try to find something. So I don't look too deep into that. I just think he said the shit wrong and he should have just apologized and owned it and just apologized and said, yo, I said it wrong. You know what I mean? I didn't mean to come off like that. You know, I meant to word it like this and clear it up. You know what I mean? That way, you know, the real ones is gonna respect that. You know what I mean? Just own it up. Don't try and stand on something that just don't make no sense because now you're gonna look bad. You know what I mean? And it's like I said, you know, we guess in the house of hip hop, man, and you got to remember that this is hip hop, what we do. You know what I mean? Whatever case may be. You know what I mean? You doing the interviews, whatever. It stems from hip hop. So that's just my take on it.
One thing that I can say that I did appreciate about his response was that he did say, come on, like gangsters grow up too and stuff now. Like, and he was
Yeah,
trying to like go like a more mature route. And we've seen like what he's doing with Rikers Island and the prison work and stuff.
yeah.
So like, you gotta show like respect that, he is doing good and out here too. You know what I mean?
Nah, yeah, yeah. He's and he's still learning. You could tell he's still learning, you know what I mean? Because even, you know, the way he talked, even me, like when I do my interviews, I'm not the best person, you know, that speaks. Some people speak very well, you know what I mean? They give good answers, and some people they so and so, you know what I mean? I'm a street dude. Well, an ex street dude. Let's say ex street dude. So my vocab wasn't always tip top condition. You know what I mean? Even though I speak well, but it wasn't always tip top condition. But like when him trying to explain, he reminded me like of my, and I'm not coming at him or you know what I mean, take it like you want, but he reminded me of my ex-wife. My ex-wife, she always used to try and sound smart and say words, you know what I mean? The dynamic was catastrophic to the tears that came down my eyes. And it symbolized as something in a Rosterian way. And I'll be like, what the fuck is you talking about? She was like, I'm just trying to elude the love that I have for you. Nah, just say you love me or something. You ain't gotta say all that extra shit. So that's when he explains about shit like that, that's how he comes off. Like, yo, my brother's in jail. You know what I mean? I do it for the commissionary and and the words don't just come out right. So I'll be like, yo, what the fuck is Pistol Pete talking about? And then he stumbles on his words and shit. He be trying to sound educated and sound dumb. And I just think he should just sound like Pistol Pete. Street nigga. That's it. That's what he speaks well in. Street form. You know what I mean? You know, if you understand what I'm saying, like a lot of cats
You're
just,
saying that it's not natural to his speech.
yeah,
Like you could
exactly.
tell when somebody like this is how you normally talk,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like, don't try and sound smart. You know what I mean? Because you're not you. I'm not trying to say he's not smart, but I'm saying he's not well spoken. You know what I mean? And a lot of people they try to, you know, be well spoken and they not. You know what I mean? They try and use words that they don't even know the fucking meaning of and make that word make sense. You know what I mean? And sometimes you gotta fall back off that shit.